Then they have fallen into our trap. We play bishop cross f7 check. After king cross f7, our idea is to play queen d5 check, attacking the king and the bishop. In this video, we are going to learn how to trap your opponent using Scotch Gambit. It starts with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and here we play pawn to d4. This opening is known as Scotch opening. Black plays e cross d4. And here, instead of playing knight cross d4, we play bishop to c4. We sacrifice this pawn temporarily. We are going to regain this pawn later in the game. This position is full of traps. If your opponent does not know the theory, then he is going to fall in one of our traps. And if he knows the theory, then we get an equal position. Here black has two options. Black can play bishop to c5 or black can play knight to f6. First, let's look at knight to f6. Here we play pawn to e5. We immediately attack this knight. Black plays knight g4. Black is counter attacking on our e5 pawn. But we don't have to defend it. We can simply go short castle. Now black plays knight cross e5. We sacrifice second pawn. And the reason is after knight cross e5, we can play rook to e1. We can pin this knight. Opponent's king is in the center and the e file is open. So we take advantage of it. And black will play a move like pawn to d6, protecting the knight. Now we can play pawn f4. We are attacking the knight and in the next move we are going to win it. Let's say black plays bishop e7 and we simply play f cross e5. We won a piece. And if black plays bishop to c5, then we play pawn to c3. Here black has two moves. Black can play d cross c3 or black can play knight f6. First let's look at knight f6. Now here we play pawn to e5, immediately attacking the knight. Knight goes to g4 and now we play c cross d4. After bishop b4 check, knight c3, black goes short castle. And now we play pawn to h3, forcing this knight to go to h6. And here we first play bishop cross h6. We ruin the pawn structure of the opponent's king. We have managed to create weakness around the opponent's king. And now we can attack these weaknesses. We play queen d2. Our threat is we are going to play queen cross h6, then knight to g5 to attack the h7 pawn, and this bishop is also pointing toward the opponent's king. And if you look at the Uncle Stockfish, white is completely winning in this position. In this position, 64% of the time, your opponent is going to capture the pawn on c3. And if they play this move, then they have fallen into our trap. Now white plays a stunning sacrifice. We play bishop cross f7 check. After king cross f7, our idea is to play queen d5 check, attacking the king and the bishop. After king e8, now before capturing this bishop, first we play queen h5 check, provoking g6, and then we play queen cross c5. And the idea is if black plays c cross b2, then after bishop cross b2, we get our bishop on this long diagonal. After knight f6, we can just simply go short castling, and this position is completely winning for white. Our plan is simple. We are going to push the pawn, we are going to develop our knight, bring it toward the center, put our rooks in the center, and opponent's king cannot castle. That's why white is completely winning in this position. So in this position, instead of capturing the pawn on b2, black generally plays pawn to d6. If you want, you can play queen cross c3 immediately. But I suggest you play a tricky move. You play queen e3. You give the opponent a chance to take on b2. And from this position, white has more than 65% winning chance in this position. It does not matter what black plays. If black plays c cross b2, then after bishop cross b2, knight f6, castling, white is completely winning. This king is in the center. And you develop your pieces, bring your rook in the center, and then break the center with pawn to e5. White's position is easy to play and white has huge advantage. And now let's see what to do if your opponent knows all of the theory. If your opponent knows the theory, then here after knight to f6, e5, he is going to play the move pawn to d5. If you see pawn to d5 in one of your games, then it means your opponent knows the theory and the position will be equal. After d5, you play bishop b5. After knight to e4, you play knight cross d4. You immediately regain the pawn. And after bishop d7, you can simply play bishop cross c6, b cross c6, and now you play a natural game. You develop your knight to c3, bishop goes to e3, and you go short castle. It's an equal position and you play a normal game. The main variation where your opponent is going to fall in one of our traps is this. Here, if your opponent does not know the theory, he is going to play d cross e3 64% of the time, and you will sacrifice a bishop on f7 and you will win the game. But if he knows the theory, then in this position he will first play knight to f6. After e5 he is going to play pawn to d5. This is the best move. You play bishop to b5. After knight e4 you play c cross d4, bishop to b6, and now you simply play normal chess. You develop your knight to c3, bishop to e3, and you go short castle, and the position is equal. You can use Scotch Gambit against 2000 rated players also. If they know the theory, you get an equal position, and if they don't know the theory, they will fall in one of our traps and you will easily win the game. Now before you go to LeechChess or chess.com and start crushing your opponent with Scotch Gambit, I want you to take your pieces and start throwing them on that subscribe button. See you in the next video.